Hey Wolfpack, and welcome back. I hope all is well, and I hope you had a good week. Today, we're reading 5 scary subscriber stories. And I will still be live streaming a horror game tomorrow. With that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. I worked as a former security guard. I saw a suspicious piece of paper holding rules. You saw the title, and you know the drill. It started a few years ago, and I'm now 21 years old. This started when I was 18. I was young, dumb, and broke as hell, and my mom and dad wanted me to get a job. So, I went on Facebook, Twitter, and Craigslist for jobs. I found the so-called perfect job. Night shift security guard. Wage, $75 an hour. Holy shit! I thought to myself, as I was ready to get this job. I went to their website, and their website was called this, HansSecurityMeasures.com, which I thought was cringe, but I tried giving it a call. I entered the number, and it began to ring. I waited for reception to answer. Hello? This is Hans Security. A young woman said as she answered the phone. Hi, I'm Raoul. I was looking for a job, ma'am. I said, in a quite nervous voice. Oh, that security guard job. Are you sure? The woman sounded a bit scared. Let's put it at that. Yes, I'm 100% sure I want this job, I said in a confident voice. Hold on, I'll talk to management in a bit. You'll get a call about whether or not you'll get an interview voice call. The lady then hung up. Alright, let's wait. I was waiting in my house as I got a call. The interview! I yelled out loud and answered. I answered and got a typical interview. I got a weird question saying, "Are you in a good mental state?" I was slightly appalled by this question because I had never gotten a question like this before. Later, I learned that I got the job. I know I don't write that well, but forgive me. My writing isn't all that good because I cannot fully remember some things. But I got the job regardless. I was told that my shift would start in 2 days for preparational reasons. That night, I was so excited. I didn't even frickin' sleep until 12 o'clock in the morning. I was very tired because I did some lawn work around my neighbors' homes and got paid $50 an hour. I was ready to start my job now. The mall was 15 miles away, so I had to pull a fast one on the highway. An old man asked me if he knew where Hans Security was. I told him, I'm heading there now for my job. I said, kinda creeped out in a way. I started to speed up as I entered the building's parking lot. This place looked old. No joke. I was walking into the building and I met my team. Dimitri, Victor, David, and Michael were their names. They were assigned to me. I was apparently assigned to the security room. I found a sheet of rules, and these are the rules. These rules are very important, and if you do not follow them, then you will die. Listen to these 10 rules. Rules for security guard room night shift. Number 1. Under any circumstances, you cannot open the closet. 2. If you hear a dark voice laughing at you on the phone, immediately turn off the lights, cut the phone, and cover your eyes. You will have 1 minute to do so. If the time is up, let's say you won't be seeing the end of your shift. 3. If you're doing your rounds, you will see a black figure with a suit and a black top hat coming towards you. Be as respectful as you can. Say yes sir, no sir. Listen to what he says. It will be helpful, and do anything he says regardless. 4. If you get a call from anyone on your cell phone that you know during 11:30 p.m. to 12 a.m., shut off your phone and do not speak, move, or try to yell. You'll understand why if you break this rule. 5. If you see someone brutally murdered on camera 6, turn off the cameras immediately, close your eyes, and lock the door. You will find out what happens if you dare to break this rule. 6. If you, in any way, hear someone knock on your security room door, do not open the door under any circumstances. I don't think you want to hear why. 7. If you are back from your rounds and notice the security room is a mirror-like, Do not lay a single step in there. You will gladly see yourself to a mental institution. 8. If you happen to see someone who died on camera 6 near you, run. He is not the person you knew who was on your team. There's a specific thing that shapeshifts. Pray to the heavens and lords you don't come across him. You'll see yourself 6 feet under, good sir. 9. Here's a tip. The 10th rule is hidden. I cannot tell you where, but somewhere in the mall. You'll find out why it's not given to you on the sheet. Is this a joke that the managers pull on you? I said to myself. 5 minutes into the shift, and I check the cameras, and I see someone brutally murdered on the screen of camera 6. Holy shit! I yelled out of sheer fear and terror. Oh my god, that's frickin' messed up for a joke. But these rules might be right. I said. I do as the rules said. I turn off the cameras, lock the door, and close my eyes. After 5 minutes, I hear something that wasn't said in the rules. You are good to go. I open my eyes, and everything's fine. The monster, the blood, and the corpse of Dimitri, all gone. Did I dream this, or is reality screwing around with me? I was slightly scared. 10 minutes passed by, so I decided to go and do my rounds, since it was 10 o'clock at night. I checked the rules again, just to be sure I'm not being screwed by reality. Still says the same thing, I said. Nothing eventful happened until 10:25. My rounds are almost done by then, and I meet the top hat man. He just looks at me, and it's disturbing. I say, "Hello, sir." I hear a gentleman-like voice, the Doctor Who kind of voice you'd find in a male Doctor Who movies. "Hello there, Raoul." He says my name, almost as if he's my friend or some shit. "That's me, sir. Is there anything I can do to help you with?" The 6'5" top hat man replies with, "Well, I do need help with something. I need some bags and a keycard. Can you get that for me, Raoul?" No problem, sir," I say in a nervous but firm tone. I tell him to wait here for a moment while I get you what you need, sir. I quickly walk off at a fast pace. I travel through Sector E9 to the bag section, and then to the staff room to steal a card. I know it was bad, but I had to. I walked back towards Sector E4, where the top hat man was, and I gave him the items. "Here you go." The big top hat man said, "Thank you," and vanished with the bags. Whew, time to head back. I check the time, 10:27. Shit! I say, running to the security office. The office is mirror-like, so I wait for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it's back to normal. I sit in the security office chair and take a 10 to 30 minute nap. What I know is that the security phone is ringing. I answer. "On security measures, this is Raoul speaking. How may I help you?" I hear laughing. Dark laughing. Loud laughing. So, I do as the rules say. I cut the phone, turn off the lights, and close my eyes. I wait for 5 minutes. When the light turns on by itself, I do my second rounds at 10:45. I get on my jacket, because it's kinda cold in the store. I walked up to the door and try to find out where Rule 10 is hidden. I find a note at a locker, and it says, Rule 10. Rule 10. Get the hell out of the store. Everyone's going to be coming after you along with the things. Get to the roof and jump off. We'll pick you up soon. Yo, what the hell? I hear footsteps. That's my cue. I ran as fast as I could. I mean, fast. Luckily, I work out at a gym, so I could run pretty decently. I made it to the roof. There was a piece of rope, paper, and a gun. I took those and rappelled down to the ground and ran for my life. The meeting place was the front gate of the store, so I made it there. After 10 minutes, I saw a truck. "Get in! Now! Go!" The man yelled for me. "Hey, you're that homeless man I saw down the street," I said. "Yeah, well, you're lucky you lived. You almost died. You're lucky you even made it out of there. The company will probably make you corporate so you don't have to deal with that ever again. After all, you're getting a good check. I'm their assistant head store sales manager. Lucky for me, I never go to the store." The man said, with a Kakashi-like voice, "I'm sure you know what Naruto is." but Kakashi sounds like a teenager with a light voice. I woke up at the office that morning. They gave me, guess what, a whopping $200,000 check for doing the job. They told me that job had to be done by someone brave. They thanked me and promoted me to corporate. It's been 3 years, and I'm still working in the company. I'm a president of sales. I make thousands each month. I'm writing this story now because I'm going through therapy, and I'm only 21. I need help. Please, send me any comments you have. I'm scared, and I feel like something is watching me. Plus, I hear skittering around my neighborhood. There was a piece of land near to where I lived. It was referred to as the Ghost Trail by most locals. Houses are now occupying the land, and it was great for cycling and running before. Being 20 minutes away by bike, I often went over. To give you an idea of the layout, one half of the land was soil old brick and tufts of grass with the occasional tree root sticking out. Across the main road, there was 2 cottages. This was an old farm that years past hosted school trips to feed the animals. This had long since fell into disrepair. A rail line and old signaling box ran through the middle of the fenced-off area at each side, with warning signs everywhere. One sunny afternoon when I was 11 years old, by myself, I decided to go for a bike run throughout the old countryside. I had spent most of the morning debating with myself to go out or not, as I was always a bit of an antisocial creature. I made my way through the high grass, and though with poison ivy and wasps, thinking that this was the worst of it, I approached the old cottage. I saw an opening in one window just above ground level. As I drew near, my brain was telling me to go back, but my normal hyperactive self thought hard with reason and won. I climbed into an old kitchen with nothing but rotting floorboards and rusted pots lying around. I smelled what I can only describe as moldy dust. I was approaching a very small hallway that led to a main door that had been long since boarded up. I suddenly heard footsteps from the other part of the cottage. Being a small building, I thought it's either a fox or a person, and if I heard them, they more than likely heard me. I tumbled a bit and tried to find an escape as the footsteps got louder. It was 100% a person wearing boots as the creaking, rotting floor started screeching from just down the hall. I ran and climbed back out. I jumped heroically, I might add, from a nearer window than the one I stumbled in through and ran over for cover. I was hiding amongst tall grass when I saw him, a disgruntled older male, mid-40s, desperately looking for me. I stood up for some reason, announcing my presence. I guess manners took over. He started shouting at me, "Come back, you! I own this land and you're trespassing! Get back here!" I sprinted to the large fence, forgetting my bike in the panic. There was no way out apart from climbing into the railway tracks and running across. The man grumbled, "I'm taking you to the police! Get over here now! My car is up the road! You're in deep shit! Get here now!" That was it. I climbed the fence and sprinted to the other side. I knew that the tracks had a gap further down to which I escaped from and ran to the nearest phone box as I was too young to have a mobile at the time. I panic-called my mom, who told me she would meet me halfway. It was getting dark, and I had lost my bike, and some farmer tried to get me. This wasn't a good day for me. I met my mom outside a Chinese takeaway that stood about a mile away from my home. She was so angry at me, but I know now I was okay. I couldn't help but cry, as children often do. I explained what happened, and she looked shocked and explained to me that the farmland had been owned by Glasgow City Council for the last 9 years. Not one person owned the land, and I was most likely going to be kidnapped. As you could imagine, this news shook me for quite some time, and I had nightmares for a few years. So, to the farmer that never was, now that I'm 30, if I meet again, I'll be kicking your walking stick from under you and seeing how you like feeling trapped. I never did get my bike back. This happened Halloween of 2019. It started off as any normal Halloween would go. You're too old to trick and treat, so you just scare kids and doorbell ditch. Me and my friends, who I will name Joe and Jack. Joe was more daring and had a super creepy clown mask on that would make any adult shit their pants. Jack had a light-up mask that wasn't too scary, and I had nothing. I was new to the neighborhood because we moved there that summer. After about 2 hours of scaring and doorbell ditching, we headed to Jack's house. There, we saw 4 more kids we knew, and everyone decided to go outside and sit in a big field and have snacks and candy. About 10 minutes after we headed into a field, a sheriff pulled up and everyone thought it was a joke, and he was trying to scare some kids. But he got out of his truck and asked if we had seen any kids with light-up masks like the one Jack had. We said no, and then asked why. The sheriff told us they had baseball bats and were driving around trying to hit people. The sheriff said if you do call 911, we said we would if we saw them. Then the sheriff drove off. Everyone was a little confused when Jack went white in the face and almost passed out. We asked him what his problem was, and he replied that his brother and some of his friends had those masks, but it couldn't be them because they didn't have a car. Me, Joe, and Jack all set off to find his brother and his friends so they wouldn't get arrested. We walked around and eventually found them. We told them that the cops were after them and that they should hide. They hid and made us go away so we wouldn't get in trouble either with the sheriff if they got caught. So, we headed back to Jack's house to get the other kids there. There were only 2 boys there who I will call Jimmy and John. Jimmy was a very tough kid who liked to joke around a lot, and John was very tall and shy. We started walking around just talking until about 10:30. Most kids went inside because it was getting late. It was then we saw it. 4 kids in a beat-up red car, 2 of them holding baseball bats and 1 of them holding up a knife. They drove by us holding up their weapons and looking at us. It was then Jimmy realized those were the kids who got Jack's brother in trouble. What he did next almost got him killed. He chased the car, pulling out his phone. He got a picture of the license plate and yelled, "We got your plate now! We're gonna call the cops!" After he said that, the car stopped, and he almost ran into it. The kids in the car all got out and turned towards us. We all ran towards Jack's house, and when the kids realized that we were too fast, they ran back to their car, got in, and came speeding at us going at about 35 in a 25 neighborhood. We made it back to Jack's house, and his mom drove me home because I was too scared to walk. That night, I heard a knock at my bedroom window, and when I looked, what I saw scared me so bad I slept with a knife. I saw the car that was chasing us. I didn't know who they were, but this wasn't funny. As they saw me look out my window, they all held up knives and I was done. I closed my blinds, barricaded my door, and tried to get some sleep. What happened that night still scares me till today. I still don't know who they were or what they wanted. I was standing outside the window of her bedroom watching her sleep. She had seen me before. Talked to me, in fact, but she never remembered me. Once while she was on break at work, out smoking beside the building, I walked up and asked her if I could burn a smoke, and she gave me one. Then I left. Before that, I was at the dog park watching her, and she saw me. I gave her a friendly wave, and I just kept walking. I stood behind her at gas stations, grocery stores, the post office. Not once did she show any sign of recognition. I stood outside her house near the road or out back in the trees. I watched her eat, watch movies, shower, have sex, and walk her dog. I have seen her with friends, on dates, visiting her parents, but she's never really seen me. After months of following her, watching her at her job, casing out of her house, I was finally here, watching her sleep. She was wearing pink silk shorts and nothing else. She was beautiful. I saw her start to turn over, so I quickly threw on my white mask. I'm sure with my black pants and hoodie, it was the only part of me she could see through her window. I stood there for about 5 minutes before she noticed me. The pure fear on her face gave me such a high, such an adrenaline rush. My hands began to shake. When she turned her head to find her phone, I bolted, jumped the fence into the neighbor's backyard, and ran into the woods. 15 minutes later, I saw the blue lights of the police cars, and I went home, knowing I had to come back. I waited a couple of days, letting her think I was just some kid, or it was a prank, and then I went back to her house. It was about 9 or so at night. I saw the bathroom light on, and figured she was in the shower. I took this opportunity to check all the doors and windows to see if any were unlocked. Of course, the doors weren't, but the window above the sink in the kitchen was. So, I start to crack it open, and her damn dog, some yappy little schnauzer, starts going crazy. I pull a piece of lattice loose from her back porch, crawled underneath, and pull it back up as best I could. I expected, after the other night, for the cops to show up again, but she just let the dog out and locked the door back. The dog came sniffing around the back porch where I was hiding, and I knew that little bastard would give me away. So, with a couple of kissy sounds and some "there's a good pupper," I was able to get the dog close enough to grab it through the lattice and break its neck. With a slight and quiet whimper, the yappy shit was no longer an issue. I watched as all the lights in the house switched off except her bedroom, and I made my way through the kitchen window. I quietly snuck from the kitchen into the living room and to the front door, made some scratching noise with my knife, and I ducked back into the kitchen to hide. When she walked past, going to the door to see if it was her dog scratching, I slipped into her bedroom and hid in her closet. I waited in her closet for about an hour before slowly emerging. There she was again, sleeping sweetly, blissfully unaware, my prize, and I just watched her. For about a half an hour, I watched her sleep. I noticed how her silk shorts formed to her hips. I listened to her light breathing. I admire the way her hair falls on her face. I then moved to the end of her bed, and she began waking up, but just barely. My heart started racing when I saw her eyes. Then, as she saw me there, in my black hoodie and white mask, she let out a scream that I can only describe as the most beautiful song I have ever heard. I was very careful with my blade, taking my time and not rushing anything. I waited a long time, and I wanted to savor every second. Her blood was a gorgeous shade of dark red. The gurgles of her agonal breathing filled me with pleasure. The smell of her blood mixed with her body spray aroused me. I thoroughly enjoyed her. They found the remains of her body under the back porch next to her stupid dog. It was all over the news for a month or two, and I smiled whenever they showed her face. It's been a full year, and I think I'm ready for another high. I went hunting in one of the local forests. I found out I was being hunted instead. I went on a hunting trip in one of those forests, which I will not name to protect everyone listening. I went on this trip by myself, since company usually leaves me too distracted. The forest I entered this time were unfamiliar to me. I had to use a GPS as a guiding system, since I did not know my way around this area. The forest was of pretty decent size. I did not want to spook any people wandering in the area with my hunting rifle, so I steered clear of any pathways and walked through the trees, looking for any high points for me to set up on. I found a pretty decent-sized hill, with a lot of plant life growing on it, and I thought to myself, perfect. I could easily conceal myself in the bushes, so this spot seemed ideal to me. It was quite a long wait until I actually saw movement, but as a hunter, I was always used to laying down motionless looking through my scope for hours until I saw any movement. It was getting pretty dark, and I decided I was only going to stay for 30 minutes longer before packing up. Maybe luck would be on my side, but how wrong I was. I spotted a deer, but this was no normal deer. This was an absolute giant of a deer, but its appearance and behavior got my attention even more. It looked rabid. The fur looked jagged and was covered in bald spots. The eyes were very sunken in, and it looked like it was on alert, almost as if it was looking for something. I thought to myself that it would be the best decision to take this animal out of its misery. Based off my visual clues, I could tell this was no lie for any animal, so I began slowing down my breathing, checked the wind, and aligned my crosshairs. I slowly breathed out and took the shot. I aimed for its head. It fell to the ground, but to my surprise, it stood up in almost an instant. I was baffled and absolutely mind-blown. The next part still gives me the shivers at night. When it stood up, I clearly saw the bullet wound on the side of its head, still gushing blood out of it. It let out a blood-curdling scream which no deer should ever be able to make. This chilled me to the bone so hard I left all my stuff, except for my rifle, and ran as hard as I could. I kept on running and running, praying that I would make it out of there. I could hear it screaming and running in the same direction as me. I realized at this point I was being chased. I found a pathway and began running on it since it's easier to sprint over compared to forest floor. I spotted 2 people, which I assume were a couple who were going for a walk. I frantically said, "Get out of here now! It's not safe!" I think the terrified look on my face said enough, and so we all ran out of the forest. After we got out, I excused myself for acting so paranoid over in the forest. They asked for a reason behind it. I knew they wouldn't believe it, so I just replied, "You would not believe me, even if I told you." I said my goodbyes and left after that. I know I'm not insane. Those sunken-in eyes and that scream was very real to me. Thanks for listening, Wolfpack. If you want to submit your own story, the links for my email and subreddit will be down below. I've also created a Discord, so if you want to join that, the link will be in the description down below as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And with that said, have beautiful nightmares, and I will see you next time.